Hello everyone, hello Ling Nation, welcome to the King of Iron Fist Tournament 8 and welcome to Mr. Croft's School of Ling Xiaoyu. I am Mr. Croft and today we are diving deep into the world of Tekken 8 with an extensive guide on one of the game's most dynamic characters and certainly my most beloved character, Ling Xiaoyu. The primary goal of this Ling Xiaoyu guide is to equip players with a comprehensive understanding of how to effectively use Ling Xiaoyu in matches. In this guide I will cover a lot of topics. I will start with a general overview and Xiaoyu's strengths and weaknesses. After that I will talk about her key moves, her free stances, punishment tools and her options in heat. The last section will cover her throw game and her Oki setup potential. Let's start with a quick overview. Ling Xiaoyu, the graceful dancing phoenix. Known as the Queen of Evasion, Xiaoyu effortlessly moves across the battlefield, captivating opponents with her fluid movement. Xiaoyu is not a 50-50 monster, but rather a stance-heavy character that thrives on constant antagonization. Due to her outstanding poking game and evasive abilities, she is able to expose flowcharts and punish bad habits of opponents. And now, with her new ways to apply pressure with the heat system, and also blended with her strong counter-hit game and potential for Okizeme setups, Xiaoyu can be a very intimidating character in the right hands. Thanks to her extensive move list, she offers players the freedom to approach her gameplay with creativity and diversity. Whether you prefer a more calculated playstyle or enjoy pushing the boundaries of experimentation, you will get the best of both worlds with this character. Let's cover her strengths first. Xiaoyu boasts remarkable evasive properties from her stances: Art of Phoenix, Rain Dance stance and Hypnotist. These stances grant her the ability to sidestep, duck and weave through attacks, often evading high and mid moves, making her a nightmare for opponents relying on linear or predictable attacks. This crushing potential allows her to slip past high and mid strikes, giving Xiaoyu a significant advantage in the match and making opponents re-evaluate their options. Her evasive movement allows her to keep opponents guessing, creating situations where she can dictate the pace and capitalize on their wake-up options. Xiaoyu's poking and counter-hit game are top-notch. Xiaoyu's quick and effective pokes can disrupt opponents' rhythm, and her ability to convert counter-hits into devastating combos adds an extra layer to her offensive tools, especially with her combo damage being buffed now in Tekken 8. She also benefits from her small hurt box, making it challenging for opponents to land certain combos and attacks. Xiaoyu is one of the few characters who are able to get out of dangerous situations that would normally be unescapable. When it comes to defense, both whiff and block punishment has been buffed in Tekken 8, with moves like up back 3, back for 1, forward 4 and her newer standing punishers. Xiaoyu's toolkit also includes decent keep-out tools, allowing her to control space and keep opponents at bay. Her ability to create distance and punish opponents attempting to come close can make it difficult for them to make a comeback in a round. In moments of urgency, Xiaoyu can rely on her lightning-fast panic move, back 1. This move can really turn the tide of a match and catch opponents off guard. And now, more than ever, Xiaoyu also shines at the wall. Her wall game is incredibly strong in Tekken 8, with a plethora of tools to apply pressure and mix-ups. Utilizing her stances and quick strikes, she can overwhelm opponents really quickly. Adding to her versatility is Xiaoyu's heat game. This unique mechanic amplifies her offensive potential by adding a lot of plus frames and new mix-up situations. It also introduces two powerful heat smashes. Mastering the heat game allows Xiaoyu players to boost her combo potential even more, while she keeps the momentum at the same time. Alright, let's talk about Xiaoyu's weaknesses while drawing comparison to her Tekken 7 version. Despite her overall strength, one notable weakness remains. Xiaoyu still lacks a 15 frame while standing Punisher. This can leave her somewhat vulnerable when opponents push their advantage with unsafe moves. Her hop kick is still a 16 frame startup, making it a tad slower compared to some other characters. While Xiaoyu's heat game is very strong, it's worth mentioning that it doesn't revolve around true 50-50 situations, contrasting with some other characters in the roster. This means opponents may have more options to defend against her mix-ups, requiring Xiaoyu players to rely on their creativity and adaptability. Compared to Tekken 7, Xiaoyu has indeed seen improvements, but some of her old weaknesses persist. Her pressure tools, while better now, still don't match up with some of the cast. Tracking and range issues, though less severe, are aspects she needs to navigate carefully in Tekken 8 as well. Xiaoyu is still quite weak to sidestepping and sidewalking left. Approaching opponents has become more accessible for Xiaoyu in Tekken 8. Her moves now offer new plus frames on hit, some even giving guaranteed follow-ups. This allows her to create pressure situations, restricting opponents from easily escaping her game plan with simple backdashes. Against turtling opponents though, Xiaoyu may still face challenges. Some of her new tools might be a bit slow and steppable, making it crucial for Xiaoyu players to carefully choose when to initiate attacks. Opening up opponents can still be a demanding task. Overall, Xiaoyu may not be the easiest character to pick up due to her stance-heavy move list. However, once you overcome the initial learning curve, the investment pays off and she will become one of the most fun characters to play. She has great generic tools, great counter hit tools and decent lows. Xiaoyu can excel if you have really good timing and are able to set up good counter hit and bait situations by using her dancing evasive options. With the right read on your opponents, with Xiaoyu you are able to pile up a lot of damage very quickly. In addition to that, if you want to play a character that allows you to express yourself with a variety of playstyles, Xiaoyu is the character for you. Let's go over Xiaoyu's key moves now. Her stances will be discussed in their own section, so I will focus on her neutral game first, starting with moves from standing. First up is down forward 1, one of her strongest pokes. A safe I-14 mid poke that can automatically transition into her back turn rain dance stance, but also offering the option to stay front facing if you hold down forward. It's +7 on hit and +9 if you enter rain dance stance. It has great high crushing capabilities and good plus frames on hit. With the freedom to move decently well after the move due to it being -4 or -2 in rain dance, on block, Xiaoyu can go for additional down forward ones to counter high moves effectively, or even transition into rain dance and either sidestep or try and land a counter hit with rain dance 1, for example. Keep in mind though, down forward one's range may be a bit limited, and even though it tracks a bit, it remains vulnerable to sidewalk left. Let's talk about her 1 jabs and extensions next. 1 alone is a high that is +8 on hit and +1 on block, making it a good tool to fish for counter hits, for example with Magic 4. However, it does push away the opponent. 1-2 is her first extension that jails. It's also one of Xiaoyu's 10 frame punishers. After the second hit, Xiaoyu has access to a third, uninterruptible poke with 1-2-1. It catches a lot of opponents that try to press after 1-2. The last hit can be delayed and it slightly tracks as well. 1-2-1 is a very good string and it's only -9 on block, so you won't get punished for it. On top of that, the last 2 hits are natural combo and counter hit, making this string even stronger at the wall as it wall splats the opponent. The next transition is 1 down 2. Just like with down forward 1, you can hold down to stay in neutral or let go a bit to transition into her rain dance stance. In Tekken 8, you can even access her hypnotist stance by holding back after down 2, making this move useful to keep your opponent guessing. It is very delayable too, which can be great to realign with your opponent after pressing 1. It has an extension with 1 down to 1+2, which is punishable on block. It's also vulnerable to sidestep left, which means that it can be launched as well, so we have to be careful with this one. Just like with 1-2-1, if the down 2 is a counter hit, you will get a free follow-up with either back 3 from rain dance or the last hit of the string 1+2. Keep this one in mind for later. The next move is down forward 4. This is a decent 12 frame fast mid poke, which is only -4 on block. Its range is not the best, but it has a little bit of pushback. Nothing wrong with throwing out this move once in a while. Standing free, one of my personal favorites and one of Xiaoyu's strongest whip and block punishers. It is a high 14 frame fast launcher and only -11 on block. It is Xiaoyu's quick one button launcher with decent range, and on top of that, it can now be performed out of sidestep as well, which can be considered a huge buff for Xiaoyu, as it boosts her ability to evade and punish moves and strings even more efficiently. Xiaoyu's standing 4 is 11 frames fast, -9 on block and a strong tool to fish for counter hits. While Magic 4 combos are gone in Tekken 8, she still gets a guaranteed follow-up on counter hit with moves like 3+4 and up back 4. Xiaoyu's forward 3 has been changed in Tekken 8. It is still a long range mid poke and it's -5 on block. No matter if you land it on hit or block though, Xiaoyu will recover in her rain dance stance. In Tekken 7, you were able to throw the opponent to its side after a counter hit forward 3, gaining access to a rain dance 4 launch against opponents that don't know how to escape it. This is not possible anymore in Tekken 8 as your opponent will stay front faced after a counter hit forward 3. While some may consider this a nerf, it's not as bad as it sounds. Being +12 on counter hit, Xiaoyu is still able to apply additional pressure after a successful forward 3. Follow-up moves from rain dance like the 2-2 string, rain dance 1, rain dance back 3 and rain dance down 3 are fast enough to interrupt poking and possibly even counter hit launch opponents. Also, as a forward moving mid, it is a great tool to close the gap and realign with your opponent. Giving you access to her rain dance stance on block and on hit, Xiaoyu is able to create evasive situations, for example by sidestepping from back turn or rolling away with rain dance back 3+4, creating opportunities to whiff punish your opponent. With this in mind, always check how your opponent reacts after a blocked forward 3. Speaking of pressure, one of the best additions and changes in Tekken 8 is Xiaoyu's new forward 1. Just like in Tekken 7, it has 2 extensions. Forward 1-3 is a natural mid-high combo that wall splats and does decent damage, while forward 1-4 is the launching version, the second hit being a mid and -12 on block. Forward 1 alone is -11 on block, but on hit it forces the opponent to crouch. Xiaoyu is able to enter her Art of Phoenix stance by holding down afterwards, making the move only -5 on block. On hit though, this is where the move gets very strong. Forward 1 down becomes staggering +13 on hit, which means that Xiaoyu is not only getting a free AOP 4, but also a free AOP 2-1. This is a huge and welcoming change to Xiaoyu's pressure game in neutral due to the fact that AOP 2-1 is one of her heat engagers, meaning that she can continue pressuring the opponent after the guaranteed AOP 2-1 follow-up. Another great poke and change Xiaoyu received in Tekken 8 is her forward 2-1. Forward 2-1 is undoubtedly one of Xiaoyu's strongest pokes now. It's 16 frames fast and a mid-high string. It has no pushback on block, however, compared to Tekken 7, the string jails now, which means that the opponent is not able to duck after the first hit. And even more important, it has decent tracking on both sides. It's only -6 on block and she can enter Hypnotist by holding back. Doing 26 damage on hit, forward 2-1 is one of Xiaoyu's best safe strings now. Keep in mind though, the last hit of forward 2-1-4 is a counter hit launcher, but it's also -13 on hit and therefore punishable. Forward 2 remains unchanged. It is a 15 frame mid with decent range and slight pushback on block. However, it can be sidestepped easily. It has an extension with forward 2-1, which is natural combo and hit confirmable. Forward 2-1 is -12 on block and can be cancelled by holding back. Mind you, forward 2-1 is not a heat engager, only AOP 2-1 is. Down back 1, Xiaoyu's Storming Flower, is another strong mid and a heat engager. It is 18 frames fast, -9 on block and has decent pushback. On hit, it deals a good amount of damage and gives Xiaoyu access to heat. Just like forward 2 though, down back 1 can be stepped pretty easily. It is a quite linear move. Next up is while running free. This is Xiaoyu's plus on block launching running move that transitions into AOP. While it covers a lot of range, it is pretty linear as well, although it might catch sidesteps sometimes due to its strange hitbox. It's often used to close the gap to your opponent, which can be very predictable, so opponents might use pokes to interrupt and float Xiaoyu. Next, I want to talk about some of Xiaoyu's best mid pokes. Let's call them pressure mids. The first two are both safe counter hit launchers, up forward 4 and 3+4. Both are 23 frames fast and can go into AOP by pressing down 1+2 or holding down respectively. Up forward 4 is one of Xiaoyu's strongest keep out tools that is safe on block with -7, while being +4 on hit. 3+4 on the other hand got buffed in Tekken 8. Now +3 and only -1 on block, Xiaoyu doesn't lose a turn after the move gets blocked. In addition to that, Xiaoyu will not recover in full crouch anymore but in standing, which is a big change compared to Tekken 7. While you will not be able to get a standing 2 afterwards, Xiaoyu is still able to pressure the opponent with follow-ups like sidestep right AOP, Magic 4 and Xiaoyu's pokes in general. Depending on your opponent's options and your reads, you can use this move to bait your opponent into pressing. Another pressure mid that has undergone some changes is forward 4, a 19 frame high homing move that gives advantage on block. It is still one of Xiaoyu's key keep out tools, but compared to Tekken 7 it doesn't launch anymore. Instead, it is +13 on hit, which, as mentioned before, plays into Xiaoyu's nature of being a more pressuring character in Tekken 8. In my opinion, this is a welcome change. Now Xiaoyu can force opponents into respecting her frames thanks to moves like this one. Because on hit, you will get a free forward 1+2 shoulder or even her new 13 frame Punisher, which is also a heat engager, back 4-1. Just to stress this again, Xiaoyu is getting a free heat engager follow-up after forward 4 hits the opponent. Her new forward 4 is not a mid, but can be considered one of Xiaoyu's best new pressure tools in neutral. It is a high, 20 frames fast and has incredible range. With this move, Xiaoyu is able to close out gaps against defensive and turtling opponents. On hit, it is +13 and automatically transitions into her Hypnotist stance, which forces the opponent into a mix-up situation as Xiaoyu has access to good mids and lows in Hypnotist. While it doesn't have the best tracking properties, you cannot underestimate this move, even on block being +8, adding a lot of pressure at the wall as well. Additionally, forward 4 becomes a launcher on counter hit, in fact one of Xiaoyu's most damaging ones. So all in all, forward 4 is a great addition to Xiaoyu's neutral game and approach. Let's talk about another excellent addition to Xiaoyu's neutral game, her new up-back free launcher. It is a mid, 21 frames fast and automatically recovers in AOP, while being -13 on block. In terms of range, this move might be one of Xiaoyu's best whiff punishers. Just like with standing free, always be ready to punish whiffs with this move. It is also a very hard hitting launcher. Xiaoyu has received a new 13 frame Punisher with back 4-1. Tracking to her weak right side and being a natural combo, it is also one of her heat engagers in Tekken 8. It replaces her old mid-high string back 4-4 that wasn't very consistent in terms of punishment. Back 4-1 is -14 on block, but can be used for whiff and block punishment, giving Xiaoyu the chance to steal the momentum by immediately going into a heat mix. Xiaoyu also got a new power crush with up back 4. It is a huge improvement over her old one in every aspect. It is a I-22 fast mid with decent range. With up back 4 you are able to hit grounded opponents as well, and on block it is only -13. Even though it has no pushback on block, up back 4 can be used as a guaranteed follow-up after moves like Magic 4 and AOP up forward neutral free. Also, due to up back 4 being able to hit grounded opponents, Xiaoyu's forward 3+4 and rain dance forward 3+4 become very damaging launchers. One of her most important key moves from neutral and another favorite of mine is Xiaoyu's standing 1+2. 1+2 is a 20 frame fast mid, -7 on block and known for being a safe launcher that is hard to land. The main mind game is to mix it up with sidestep 4 by doing a sidestep 1+2, as both of these moves have nearly the same speed. On hit, you can go for a guaranteed 3+4 or for the trickier forward 3 pickup to get a full launch. Especially on higher level, using 1+2 as a launcher is essential to strengthen your neutral game. And last but not least, back 1+2. Back 1+2 is Xiaoyu's 15 frame launcher that tracks on both sides with great range. It is one of her strongest whiff punishing tools and only needs the second hit to launch. Being only -13 on block, it can be used to catch opponents that rely too much on stepping Xiaoyu. Let's move on to low pokes now. Xiaoyu has always had a great arsenal of fast lows. This hasn't changed in Tekken 8. Let's start with her fastest one, down 4. While it is 12 frames fast, down 4 moves have been significantly nerfed in Tekken 8. Xiaoyu's down 4 is -15 on block, making it launch punishable, so we have to be careful with this move. Down 3 is 2 frames slower but much safer, being -12 on block. Its range and tracking are only subpar, but it has a high follow-up with down 3-4 that is guaranteed on counter hit. Down back 4 is her first plus on hit low. It's I-18 and only -12 on block. It tracks slightly to her left, and it has a much better range than down 4 and down 3, and it also forces crouch. On counter hit, it becomes even scarier, giving Xiaoyu a free follow-up with forward 1+2 or her heat engager back for 1. Same goes for her moves down back 3 and rain dance down back 4, which on normal hit only give 2+ frames, but on counter hit they will guarantee follow-ups like forward 1+2, back for 1 for 13 frames, and even down forward 2-3 for 14 frames. Both of these moves got buffed from +12 to being +14 in Tekken 8 on counter hit, further strengthening Xiaoyu's ability to apply a lot of pressure in close combat. These 3 moves not only boost her neutral game, with the right timing they can be used to enhance Xiaoyu's wall pressure as well. Sidestep 4 is Xiaoyu's low counter hit launcher with decent range. It is -2 on hit and -13 on block. It is a strong low with good tracking and damage that crushes highs and leaves Xiaoyu in full crouch. Make sure to use it often and to mix it up with sidestep 1+2, as the sidestep animation can be noticed by opponents. Down back 2 is her standout 18 frame low poke that tracks to Xiaoyu's weak right side and leaves her in her rain dance stance. With a block disadvantage of -8, it enables Xiaoyu to strategically utilize her parries or evasive toolkit against opponents attempting to punish. Even though it is +18 on counter hit, there is no guaranteed follow-up. Alright, let's continue with Xiaoyu's full crouch moves. Standing 4 is an excellent 11 frame punisher with good range that's only -10 on block. Due to its amazing pushback, it is also very hard to punish. Another standout full crouch move is standing 2. Standing 2 is undoubtedly one of her best safe keep-out tools. It is only -3 on block and becomes a launcher on counter hit. An interesting fact, the move seems to be 14 frames fast, but if performed as an instant while standing move, it becomes 1 frame faster. Using standing 2 as a keep-out tool just like up forward 4 and forward 4 is essential for Xiaoyu's counter hit game. Be careful though, as it can be stepped. A new addition to her full crouch game is standing 1+2, 1+2. It is her new standing 14 frame punisher and a natural combo that's safe on block. On hit, it leaves the opponent crouched while Xiaoyu is +7. For full crouch lows, the 2 worth mentioning are full crouch 3 and full crouch down forward 4-4. While full crouch 3 has relatively bad frames on block and on hit, its outstanding range and tracking is what makes it a solid low. Full crouch down forward 4-4 is one of Xiaoyu's best lows. Dealing a considerable amount of damage, they are both safe lows that can only be punished by blocking the first one and then low parry the second one. The first one also transitions into her AOP stance with +4 frames on hit, which can be used to set up additional pressure in AOP, but more on that later. To summarize Xiaoyu's neutral game, it revolves around a lot of pokes and moves that further enhance her evasive nature. While the frames on block may not always be optimal, she can move around freely most of the time thanks to her built-in stance transitions and options to negate frame disadvantage. Also, new tools like forward 1 down, forward 4 and the J-Link forward 2-1 strongly boost Xiaoyu's ability to pressure the opponent in her neutral game, keeping them always on their toes. Xiaoyu has always been known for having tracking and range issues. This is still apparent in Tekken 8. However, with moves like forward 1 down, forward 4, forward 4, down back 2, back 4-1 and also forward 2-1, Xiaoyu is now more than ever able to stand her ground. Even though her fundamentals and neutral tools already make Xiaoyu a strong and solid character, her true potential lies in combining her neutral game with her stances. Xiaoyu has 3 stances: Art of Phoenix, Rain Dance stance and Hypnotist. All 3 of them have received some big changes in Tekken 8, so let's take a closer look. Art of Phoenix, AOP, Xiaoyu's unique stance that infamously evades highs, mids and some might say even lows, reducing the opponent's toolkit by a lot depending on the character. Let's talk about AOP's evasive properties first. AOP does not only boost Xiaoyu's evasive potential, it also gives her access to a lot of mix-up and pressure tools. In general, AOP is accessed by pressing down 1+2. It comes with a built-in sidestep right, so by pressing down 1+2, you will not only evade high moves but also some mids and, depending on their linearity, sometimes also lows. This also means that performing a sidestep right just before entering AOP essentially grants Xiaoyu the benefit of 2 sidesteps while in AOP. In a game where sidestep movement has overall been enhanced, mastering the timing of a sidestep right down 1+2 can make a huge difference when it comes to pressure, evasiveness and with punishment with Xiaoyu. So the next time someone tells you Xiaoyu went under a low, please feel free to educate them and tell them she didn't go under a low, she stepped the low. Also worth mentioning, pressing down during AOP allows Xiaoyu to go even lower and evade even more moves. While you can enter this so-called butterfly manually by pressing down after down 1+2, you can also enter butterfly automatically by entering AOP from full crouch. Now let's explore some key moves from AOP. AOP down 1+2 is one of Xiaoyu's main launchers that's safe. It might not be the fastest move, but it is a reliable whip punisher and it will completely go under highs while being performed. One of Xiaoyu's strongest AOP moves and one of her biggest buffs in Tekken 8 is AOP 1+2. Just like during the first seasons of Tekken 7, AOP 1+2 is back to being a counter hit launcher again that deals an impressive amount of damage. Being only -1 on block, it's very advisable to throw out this move as often as possible. It's 19 frames fast and it is an excellent tool to close the gap to your opponent. It can also be used to set up counter hits afterwards with moves like 4, down back 4 or sidestep 4. AOP up forward 3 is her AOP hop kick launcher and a faster launcher than AOP down 1+2. Performed alone, it is -17 on block and can be launched, but it has 2 follow-ups. AOP up forward 3-3 has been removed from Tekken 8, meaning there's only AOP up forward 3-4 and AOP up forward 3-1. The former one is a high mid launcher that's -14 on block, while the latter is also a high mid that's not launching and it goes back into AOP being -4 on block. None of these options are safe, not even AOP up forward 3-1, but Xiaoyu is able to use her evasive tools to avoid getting hit. For example, by going back to neutral by pressing up, doing AOP down right after AOP up forward 3-1, or using the AOP side rolls for extra evasiveness. The AOP side rolls are throws that can be cancelled into the side roll only. The input is AOP 1+3 for a side roll to the left and AOP 2+4 for a side roll to the right. You can press and hold any directional button to cancel the throw. Speaking of evasive moves in AOP, another one is her AOP forward 3+4 forward roll, which is quite fast and a great way to come close to your opponent. It will go over highs, however, a fast mid can interrupt Xiaoyu. And then there's also AOP back 3+4 to quickly transition into rain dance stance, but more on that later. AOP 4 is the fastest move out of AOP with 12 frames. It's a generic, safe mid-poke that's guaranteed after a successful rain dance up forward 1. It can be considered one of the safest and fastest ways for Xiaoyu to get out of AOP again, after moves like AOP up forward 3-1 or while running free. AOP 1 is another interesting move that received some changes in Tekken 8. AOP 1-2 is her mid-high string, while AOP 1-4 is her new mid-mid string, giving Xiaoyu another new mix-up situation in AOP. Both strings are safe on block and recover in rain dance stance. However, opponents can duck the second hit of AOP 1-2 and launch Xiaoyu. This is where the new AOP 1-4 comes into play. Just like AOP 1-2, the second hit of AOP 1-4 can be heavily delayed. It is -9 on block and technically safe, although as mentioned, Xiaoyu recovers in rain dance stance, which means there are several options to go from here. The new string has some decent pushback on block though. AOP 1-4 is a tail flip move in combos, so it will launch an airborne opponent. Besides both strings, Xiaoyu can also perform AOP 1 back, which is her safe transition into Hypnotist. AOP up forward neutral 3 has been significantly changed in Tekken 8. While its main purpose is being a combo filler now, it is also a great and safe move on its own. It's only -2 to -3 on block. On hit, it knocks down the opponent, which means that the infamous death combo we know from Tekken 7 is entirely gone. Still, in Tekken 8 it gives a free follow-up, with 3+4 and up back 4 being the most damaging ones. Adding AOP up forward neutral 3 into Xiaoyu's combos adds a lot of damage to her already buffed damage output, so it's quite advisable to use it. AOP 2-1 is her hit confirmable mid-mid string and Xiaoyu's main heat engager in AOP. Together with up forward 3 and AOP 3+4, it is one of her main ways to whiff punish after a successful Satsu Bright AOP attempt. The second hit can be cancelled by inputting AOP 2-1 back. AOP up forward 4-4 is a 16 frames fast mid with good tracking and evasive properties. Be careful with the -12 extension, AOP up forward 4-4, as some characters are able to interrupt and float Xiaoyu in between. While being punishable on paper, if spaced correctly they can be safe on block as well. After the first hit, Xiaoyu can enter AOP by pressing down or down forward, rain dance stance by holding back, or recover in full crouch when stopped after the first hit. Just like in her full crouch game, AOP forward 4-4 is a good low poke with great frames on block and on hit. And lastly, AOP 3+4, also known as Firecracker. This move is definitely one of Xiaoyu's most hated moves for obvious reasons. It is 23 frames fast, which means it is a relatively unseeable knockdown low with amazing setup potential. Depending on the get-up option of the opponent, Xiaoyu is able to get additional damage with the right read. While crouch cancel into back 1+2 and while standing 2 should always hit opponents on the ground, they can also be used against back rolls, immediate stand-up or get-up kicks to launch opponents. Another great follow-up is while standing 4, crouch cancel 3+4 and also down forward 3 for grounded opponents. A lot of these options can be blocked though, so you have to be careful. There are a lot of mind games revolving around the Firecracker Oki. Make sure to always analyze the Oki behavior of your opponent first. By masking the startup with AOP down 1+2 or AOP 1+2, AOP 3+4 becomes a menacing 50-50 from AOP. To close out this chapter, let's list some moves that transition into AOP. The most important ones are up forward 4 down 1+2, 3+4 down, while running 3, down 1 hold, up back 3, forward 1 down, and full crouch down forward 4. The next stance we will talk about is her back turn stance, called Rain Dance stance. I'm gonna call it Rain Dance from now on. Personally, my favorite Xiaoyu stance out of the 3. There is just something very satisfying and freeing about being able to apply pressure and controlling space without even looking at your opponent, in my opinion. Rain Dance can be accessed by inputting back 3+4 or full crouch down back 3+4. This stance's main purpose is to force mix-ups onto your opponent and to get access to specific pokes and tools that enhance Xiaoyu's overall movement capabilities. One of the most important moves is her Rain Dance sidestep. Notably, Xiaoyu's Rain Dance sidestep surpasses her regular sidestep not only in Tekken 7, but even more so in Tekken 8, due to the overall buff of sidestep movement. This system change offers improved lateral mobility for Xiaoyu. In Rain Dance, Xiaoyu can not only use her sidesteps for lateral movement, there is also both Rain Dance back 3+4, which is her only option to spin away from the opponent while staying in Rain Dance, and then there is Rain Dance down back to create substantial space and go back to neutral. Both of these options are vital if you want to turtle around and to let the time run out. Baiting your opponent into pressing during these movement options can create a lot of whiff punish potential for Xiaoyu. Rain Dance down back into full crouch while standing 2 and Rain Dance back 3+4 into Rain Dance 4 are only 2 viable options. Alright, let's explore some Rain Dance key moves. Rain Dance 4 is Xiaoyu's fastest 13 frame mid launcher from back turn. Very effective against grounded opponents with impressive range. It is mostly used as a combo ender after Rain Dance 2-2 or after rolling away with Rain Dance back 3+4 and punishing a whiff. Just like Xiaoyu's standing 3, if timed well, it can become a very effective tool to whiff and launch punish your opponent. It is -18 on block, so it is not advisable to throw out this move too often though. During Rain Dance, Xiaoyu has access to the Rain Dance 2-2-1 string and Rain Dance 2-1. Rain Dance 2-2 can be hit confirmed into the last hit and is a natural combo, doing a lot of damage on hit and forcing crouch on your opponent. It transitions into AOP if you hold down afterwards and it's only -10 on block. Rain Dance 2-1 on the other hand is Xiaoyu's generic jab string that can now transition into Hypnotist if you hold back. Both of these strings are great ways to enter different stances and to net additional damage, for example after a counter hit forward 3, as both options are very fast. Another great option is Rain Dance 1, Xiaoyu's main counter hit tool in Rain Dance. It is 16 frames fast and only -5 on block, while on hit, Rain Dance 1-2 is a natural combo. Xiaoyu's old Rain Dance 1-4, the mid-high string, got replaced by the new mid-mid string. Rain Dance 1-2 is -13 on block. On counter hit, only Rain Dance 1 launches, not the second hit. Rain Dance 1 is an essential tool to keep your opponent in check and to make them respect Xiaoyu's frames, especially after moves on hit that transition into Rain Dance, like 1 down 2, down back 2, back 2 and up forward 2. Try to mix options like Rain Dance 1, Rain Dance 2 with a Rain Dance sidestep right to create new opportunities to punish opponents. Raindance 1+2 is one of her main mid pokes from Raindance. The move has received a new ender in Tekken 8 that is hit confirmable. Being 16 frames fast and -6 on block, it cannot be sidewalked thanks to its good tracking. It can be followed up by a second mid, 1+2, which compared to second 7 now knocks down the opponent and guarantees a 3+4 follow-up for a lot of damage. Raindance 1+2 is -13 on block, so only go for the follow-up on hit. The new extension, Raindance 1+2 4, is Xiaoyu's main heat engager from Raindance. It is a mid-high string that's +3 on block. The second hit, as a high, can obviously get ducked and launched, but again, this string is hit confirmable as well, so only go for the high after Raindance 1+2 hits the opponent. Raindance forward 3+4 3+4 is Xiaoyu's Cali roll into her super evasive mid launcher with great tracking called Cyclone Left. This move is known for evading highs and certain mids after a blocked move like forward 3. So opponents will get launched if they don't use the right move to hit Xiaoyu out of the Cali roll, which also makes it a great tool versus opponents who don't know the Xiaoyu matchup well. Cyclone Left is also one of Xiaoyu's most damaging launchers. It is -11 on block, so 10 frame strings will work as guaranteed punishers. Anything slower can get parried by Xiaoyu's Raindance parries. Also, due to the fact that you cannot parry hop kicks anymore in Tekken 8, against them Xiaoyu has to float herself after a blocked Cyclone Left by pressing forward 1+3 or forward 2+4. Raindance down 3 is Xiaoyu's main low poke from Raindance, and just like Raindance 1, it's 16 frames fast, which means that it can also be used as a mix-up after a successful forward 3 counter hit. The extension Raindance down 3-4 becomes guaranteed on counter hit, but it is not a counter hit launcher anymore. Using only Raindance down 3 will move Xiaoyu back into neutral. Another great 16 frame Raindance move is Raindance 3. Just like Raindance 1, it is -5 on block and very plus on hit. On counter hit, it knocks down the opponent and guarantees follow-up moves like Raindance down 4 and Raindance 3+4. Raindance back 3 is a great tool for opponents who don't respect Xiaoyu's backturn stance and try to interrupt her. It is 10 frames fast and will catch most players off guard, dealing decent damage as well. While it can be stepped, Xiaoyu can then switch to options like Raindance 1+2. Raindance down 1 or Raindance down 2 is Xiaoyu's fastest Raindance poke. A fundamental 10 frame crouch jab from backturn, adding to Ling's offensive toolkit, and the very first way to get back to neutral as well. Overall, Xiaoyu's Raindance stance boosts her potential for damage by a lot, and also adds a lot of solid pokes to her mix-up game. With moves like Raindance 1+2, Raindance 2-2, Raindance 3, Raindance 1, she's able to net guaranteed follow-ups or counter-hit launchers if timed well. Options like 1 down 2 into Raindance down 3, Raindance 1, Raindance 3 or Raindance 1+2 will accumulate a lot of damage over time. And remember that Xiaoyu can go for Raindance back 3+4, Raindance down back into a standing 2 for example, or even go for the Raindance sidestep. The most important moves that transition into Raindance stance are down forward 1, forward 3, down back 2, back 2, AOP 2-1 back, forward 2-1 back, and down forward 3 back. The third and last stance is Xiaoyu's Hypnotist. This one has always been the least used stance for Xiaoyu, but not in Tekken 8. Out of all the stances, this one has gotten the most changes. In past Tekken games, it was quite difficult to set up this stance because Xiaoyu had no moves that transitioned into it. But luckily this has changed now. In Tekken 8 it plays a vital role for Xiaoyu's heat, mix-up and wall game. After entering the stance, Xiaoyu will automatically take up to 3 steps before exiting the stance again. Hypnotist can be performed by pressing up back 1+2 or down back 1+2, whereas Hypnotist 1+2 allows directional changes. Even though she cannot block any moves right after entering the stance, her stance transitions will give her enough frame advantage to perform Hypnotist moves. So it is not really advisable to manually enter Hypnotist. And then there is also her Hypnotist parry with 1+2, but we will talk later about that parry. So depending on how many steps Xiaoyu takes in Hypnotist, some of her moves will act differently. Each step amplifies the properties of 3 key moves: Hypnotist 2, Hypnotist 3 and Hypnotist 2+3. Let's check out these key moves from Hypnotist. First up is Hypnotist 2. This is Xiaoyu's main heat engager in this stance, serving as a safe wall splatting mid. Initially -4 on block, it escalates to +5 on the second step and +9 on the third step with great pushback. In heat, the third step reaches a strong +24 on block, though opponents can still block. That means the infamous Aoso Pogen guard break you might know from Sodam setup after 3 steps is gone in Tekken 8. Hypnotist 3 is a new standout addition to Xiaoyu's pressure game, introducing a new low attack that forms a lethal 50-50 situation with Hypnotist 2, depending on the plus frames. After 1 step, Xiaoyu will be +7 on hit, leaving the opponent in full crouch. The second step induces a knockdown, while the third step transforms into a launcher. The best part about Hypnotist 3, all 3 versions are only -12 on block, which means that Xiaoyu's risk-reward game during Hypnotist is completely in her favor, as she is not really risking a lot. Hypnotist 2+3 is Xiaoyu's unblockable move, dealing a lot of damage with 1 step at 40 damage, 2 steps for 50 damage, and 3 steps for 60 damage. It can be cancelled by tapping back. The cancel will leave Xiaoyu in her rain dance stance. Hypnotist 4 is Xiaoyu's fastest option with 14 frames and is one of 2 high options in this stance. On hit, it gives a guaranteed follow-up with 3+4 or even up back 4, which means that Xiaoyu will deal a devastating 40 damage after a successful Hypnotist 4. On block, it is only -2. And on counter hit, it's gonna launch the opponent. Make sure to practice the counter hit Hypnotist 4 combo, as it is a little bit tricky. And lastly, Hypnotist 3+4. The second high option in this stance and another high launcher. It is +2 on block, and you can also hold back to cancel the move and transition into rain dance. Coupled with a rain dance back 3+4 afterwards, it is a great tool to bait the opponent into pressing. So as you can see, this completely revamped Hypnotist stance grants Xiaoyu a number of powerful tools, especially in regards to her heat system, which I will talk about next. To close out this chapter, the best ways and new ways to enter this stance are 1 down 2 back, forward 2 1 back, AOP 1 back, and rain dance 2-1 back. The heat system, the new core mechanic in Tekken 8, creates new opportunities to attack aggressively. For a character like Xiaoyu that has always struggled to keep the momentum and pressure on her side during a match, the heat system is an excellent way for her to become much more oppressive. She hugely benefits from this system, and let me explain why. Xiaoyu's heat burst 2+3 is the fastest way to manually activate heat, although you might mostly use it to extend your combos or wall carry. You can tap back back after 2+3 to enter heat, but cancel the heat burst attack. As for combos, keep in mind that your heat engagers can work as juggles if you don't use your heat burst attack. Heat burst attack into heat engager will not give you an additional juggle, whereas heat burst cancel into heat engager will. Therefore, placing your heat attack strategically can really make a difference during a match, as you can extend not only Xiaoyu's combo damage but also her wall carry. Here are two examples. Also worth mentioning is the heat dash. While you are in heat, you can press forward after a heat engager to perform a heat dash, even if the heat engager gets blocked during heat. Using a heat dash grants you some plus frames, but it will consume the whole heat timer. It can be crucial to perform a heat dash after your heat engager got blocked. For example, let's look at Xiaoyu's back 1-4. On block and without using a heat dash, by pressing forward, back for 1 is -14, and therefore Xiaoyu can get launch punished by a lot of characters. Activating the heat dash after it got blocked completely negates the frame disadvantage and turns it into a +5 situation for Xiaoyu. So it's good to keep that option in mind, just in case. Heat engager moves only activate if they hit your opponent. On hit, you will close the gap to your opponent with a lot of plus frames, and you will force a mix-up situation. Xiaoyu has 5 heat engagers that automatically activate heat once you hit an opponent. They are down back 1, back for 1, AOP 2-1, rain dance 1+2-4, and hypnotist 2. As you can see, she has 1 for each stance and 2 in her neutral stance, giving her the opportunity to turn up the pressure when needed. On top of that, rain dance 1+2-4 and AOP 2-1 are both hit confirmable moves, which makes it possible for Xiaoyu to place her heat activation strategically. The same goes for back for 1. Back for 1 being a heat engager is very strong as well, as it is her consistent 13 frame punisher. This amplifies her already strong punishment by a lot, since she's able to punish -13 moves like hop kicks with back for 1 that guarantees a mix-up situation in heat now. Also keep in mind, forward 1 down on hit would also guarantee a heat engager with AOP 2-1. In general, you are in a plus 17 situation after you successfully landed a heat engager. Apart from her 5 heat engagers, Xiaoyu is one of the few characters with 2 heat smash moves. Heat smashes are very powerful moves that will consume all of the heat timer and thus can only be performed once in a round. Press 2+3 during heat to perform her heat smash. While her 2+3 heat smash from neutral is +5 on block, her second heat smash, Rain Dance 2+3, is the much better option. It is +20 on hit and transitions into Hypnotist to force another mix-up situation. And on block, it's still very strong, being +18, while Xiaoyu enters Hypnotist again into another mix. Technically, you can cancel the Hypnotist transition by holding any directional button. However, this gives away most of the plus frames on block and on hit, so it's not really advisable to do that. As mentioned before, the heat system allows Xiaoyu to use powered up versions of her Hypnotist moves, Hypnotist 2 and Hypnotist 3. During heat, Xiaoyu will actually skip the first step and immediately give access to the second step versions of Hypnotist 2 and Hypnotist 3. For Hypnotist 2, this means more damage on hit and plus frames on block. However, regarding Hypnotist 3, this is where Xiaoyu gets super scary. Hypnotist 3 after 2 steps will knock down the opponent for a guaranteed 3+4 afterwards and very strong Okizeme potential. Whereas after 3 steps, the low will launch the opponent. Mind you, during heat, Xiaoyu skips the first step, so mashing Hypnotist 3 will knock down the opponent immediately, and after one more step, it will launch while only being -12. A very scary situation to be in. So yeah, Xiaoyu is on a different level in heat. But there is more. Besides that, Xiaoyu gets access to her heat exclusive moves, forward 1-2 and forward 2-1-2. Both are natural combo on hit and deal a lot of damage. Both also knock down the opponent and recover in Rain Dance. Again, you can hold any directional input to recover in neutral stance. They are both +6 on block and can be repeatedly used in heat to pressure the opponent. On block though, the last hit of forward 2-1-2 can be stepped. However, that's where Xiaoyu's forward 2-1 into Hypnotist transition can come into play. Alright, so let's talk about some strategies for Xiaoyu during heat. I think it's safe to say that Xiaoyu's pressure gets multiplied during this heat system. After a successful heat engager, Xiaoyu will be +17. From here, she has several options to continue her pressure. For example, while running free, to launch ducking opponents, while on block, Xiaoyu transitions into AOP with 7+ frames. My personal favorites are heat engager into forward 1 down, which on hit will guarantee AOP 2-1 and the wall split close to the wall. Another option is heat engager into forward 4 to enter Hypnotist with a lot of plus frames. We have talked about the huge Hypnotist buff she receives after activating heat, so it only takes 2 steps for Hypnotist 3 to launch the opponent. So forward 4 might be the best way to set up the Hypnotist 2 and Hypnotist 3 mix. And again, if opponents start to duck forward 4 as it is a high, Xiaoyu can go back to forward 1 down and catch them with the mid that guarantees a heat engager and guaranteed damage. Other honorable mentions are forward 2-1 back in heat, down back 2 into a Rain Dance mix or heat smash, and forward 4 or back 1+2 for sidestepping opponents. Ling Xiaoyu's punishment has always been very strong in Tekken, and in Tekken 8, it's even more solid now. Let's start with her standing punishment. Not a true punisher, but still worth mentioning is Xiaoyu's back 1. Xiaoyu is one of the few characters that can actually punish -9 moves, because with the right range, back 1 can be 8 frames fast, being one of the fastest moves in the game. At 10 frames we have 1 down 2 and 1 2. 1 down 2 is definitely the stronger option with transitions into Hypnotist and Rain Dance stands. 1 down 2 into neutral is +7, into Rain Dance +8, and into Hypnotist even +9 on hit, which makes this Punisher an excellent way to apply pressure on the opponent, as they will have to deal with potential follow-ups from Hypnotist or Rain Dance that cannot be sidestepped or interrupted. Make sure to use a lot of different moves to give your opponent a lot of options to deal with. At 12 frames, we have Xiaoyu's very consistent mid-shoulder move, forward 1+2, that knocks down the opponent and can also wall splat. At 13 frames, Xiaoyu's old back 4-4 finally got replaced by the much stronger back 4-1. Back 4-1 is much more consistent, it's a high mid string and a natural combo, it has great range, and on top of that it serves as one of Xiaoyu's heat engagers, introducing additional offensive opportunities on hit. At 14 frames we have Xiaoyu's fastest standing launcher, standing free. Although it is a high, it is a fast one-button launcher and might be considered one of the best launchers in the game. It is also an excellent whiff punishment tool with decent range. It can be punished because it is -11, but the opponent has to be ready. In my opinion, being able to utilize this move the right way is crucial for becoming a strong Xiaoyu player. At 15 frames we have Xiaoyu's back 1+2. A mid launcher with great tracking to both sides, making it a solid choice in punishing opponents who like to step. It has decent range and only needs the second hit to launch the opponent. At 16 frames we have Xiaoyu's hop kick, up forward 3. It offers less damage and range than back 1+2, but it's still a solid launcher. And at 21 frames it's Xiaoyu's new move, up back 3. Up back 3 is a great addition to Xiaoyu's toolkit in Tekken 8, because this move greatly increases Xiaoyu's chance to whiff punish moves that are much more far away, thanks to its amazing range. Regarding Xiaoyu's crouching punishment options, we have at 11 frames while standing 4, which delivers a knockdown on regular hit, and it also sets the stage for a lot of Okizeme options for Xiaoyu. At 12 frames we have another buff. While standing 1-4 got changed from I13 to I12, which makes this a very strong wall splatting move, and also it provides a free Rain Dance mix-up on hit with 12+ frames, granting Xiaoyu a lot of strategic options to control the flow of the match on hit. At 14 frames, Xiaoyu received a new punisher with while standing 1+2, 1+2. It is a mid-mid string, just like her forward-forward 1+2, 1+2, X marks the spot, and it leaves her at +7 on hit. Meanwhile, the opponent will recover in a crouching state. At 16 frames, it's her hop kick again, up forward 3. Just like in Tekken 7, this is her fastest while standing launcher. At 21 frames, it's up back 3, which can be performed from while standing as well. And lastly, at 22 frames, it is Xiaoyu's while standing 2 hold, which can lead to very, very damaging combos in Tekken 8. Xiaoyu's throw game has received some interesting changes in Tekken 8. Apart from her generic 1+3 and 2+4 throws, she has a lot of special throws in her toolset, some of them being available only in her stances. In her neutral stance, she has up forward 1+2, which is her 1+2 throw. The break for it is 1+2. Down forward 2-4 is her 2 break throw, and the right one if you plan on breaking the floor. These 2 throws and 1+3 have great Oki potential. Xiaoyu is able to catch the opponent's back with moves like forward 1+2, her heat engager back for 1, or even down forward 1, which leads into a launch with rain dance 4. Back 1+2 is also a good option that catches grounded opponents as well for additional damage. The newest addition to her throws is forward 2+3, a 1+2 break, which is an incredible buff to her throw game. While the old forward 2+3 throw from Tekken 7 was a launching throw, the opponent had multiple ways to avoid being launched afterwards. With the new forward 2+3 throw, Wang's Waning Moon, for those of you who have played older Tekken games, the combo afterwards is guaranteed, netting Xiaoyu a huge amount of guaranteed damage. Moreover, due to power crush moves being punishable by 12 frame moves in Tekken 8, Xiaoyu can actually use Wang's Waning Moon as a punish, dealing between 60 and 70 damage. Next, let's talk about her throws out of AOP. In AOP, Xiaoyu can do 2 different throws, AOP 1+3 and AOP 2+4. The first one will make Xiaoyu roll to her left before she grabs the opponent. AOP 2+4 will start with a side roll to the right. Depending on which side roll she is performing, the break for the throw is either 1 for 1+3 or 2 for 2+4. Thankfully, since these animations are quite seeable and reactable, Xiaoyu is able to cancel both throws by holding any directional input. In her Rain Dance stance, Xiaoyu has access to Rain Dance 1+3 and Rain Dance 2+4, which are her generic throws, only performed from her backturn stance. Much more interesting though are Xiaoyu's so-called hop-and throws, which are Rain Dance forward 1+3, Rain Dance forward 2+4, and now also Rain Dance forward 2+3. Recognizable by the small hop Xiaoyu is doing to close the gap to the opponent, in Tekken 8 she has now 3 different variations with 3 different breaks. Rain Dance forward 1+3 is a 1 break, Rain Dance forward 2+4 is a 2 break, and Rain Dance forward 2+3, which is Wang's Waning Moon from backturn, is a 1+2 break. Compared to her AOP side roll throws though, it is not seeable which one Xiaoyu is performing from Rain Dance. That means it's a true throw mix-up. Unfortunately, just like the side rolls, the hop animation is quite telegraphed and therefore quite reactable as well. This is where Xiaoyu's throw game received the buff. Compared to her hop and throw in Tekken 7, she is now able to cancel them as well by holding down, making mix-ups like Rain Dance hop and throw cancel into while standing 2 counter hit launch a very viable options for opponents with good reactions and opponents who like to interrupt the throw with a poke. And finally, Xiaoyu's unbreakable throw from Rain Dance forward 3+4. If placed and timed correctly, Xiaoyu will land on the opponent's head and land a very damaging strike. Overall, with the addition of the just mentioned hop and throw cancels and the new forward 2+3 throw that guarantees a lot of follow-up damage, Xiaoyu's throw game is quite powerful in Tekken 8. If not for her Art of Phoenix stance, Ling Xiaoyu is mostly famous for her unbelievable okizeme and setup potential. With the right read and guess on the opponent's wake-up option, Xiaoyu is able to net guaranteed follow-up damage after certain moves or even relaunch the opponent. As the queen of okizeme, situational awareness and creativity can bring you the win with Xiaoyu. To close out this guide, I would like to give you a, let's call it a Croft Platoon glimpse of what this character will be capable of in terms of Oki setups and tricks. Tekken 8 is a brand new game, so we will definitely find much more with time. Make sure to check out my channel to stay up to date. Alright, let's go over moves that have a lot of Oki potential, starting with her Waning Moon throw. After tail flipping the opponent, Xiaoyu can immediately go for down 1 into up back 3 to relaunch opponents that stand up immediately or use a get up kick. In case they go for a low kick, Xiaoyu can, after down 1, jump over the low and go for a AOP while landing 3 to relaunch the opponent. In case they roll to the side, we can relaunch them with back 1+2 with the right read. One of my favorite Oki setups is resetting combos against opponents that stay grounded. Xiaoyu's best tool for combo resets are forward 3 and rain dance 3. Those two, I would say, are your main tools to pick them up off the ground to deal some additional damage. Another move that is infamous for its Oki potential is AOP 3+4, Firecracker. There are many ways to get more damage, depending on the wake-up option. While sending 4 is your go-to move, as this one catches most of the wake-up options. If they stand up immediately, we can go for a crouch cancel back 1+2, or while sending 2 into rain dance 4 to relaunch the opponent. If the opponent decides to stay grounded, Xiaoyu can use her snake edge down forward 3 or 3+4 to get additional damage. And my favorite option, if they decide to side roll, you can go from Firecracker into full crouch back 3+4 to transition into rain dance and then launch them with rain dance 4. The biggest change to Xiaoyu's setup game is the nerf of her up forward 2. The infamous jump over setup into rain dance 4 is not working anymore, as up forward 2 will knock down opponents after the cross up. However, the cross up can still be used for setups. This time though, you need to have the right read on your opponent. Here are some examples. While her Sabaki, rain dance forward 1+2, is not a launcher anymore, Xiaoyu will get a free rain dance down 4, or depending on the Oki, she can launch the opponent with rain dance 4. The best ways to set it up are after moves like was sending 1-4, rain dance forward 3+4, 3+4, and AOP up forward 4 back. Alright, after an 80-minute journey, we have finally reached the end of this comprehensive Ling Xiaoyu guide for Tekken 8. Throughout this guide, we have explored Xiaoyu's key moves, her strengths and weaknesses, her free stances and punishment capabilities, Xiaoyu's options in heat, as well as her throw game and some okizeme setups. As demonstrated, Xiaoyu offers an effective toolkit suitable for both aggressive and defensive playstyles. Her outstanding poking game, her whiff and block punishment, as well as her range of evasive moves and Oki potential make Xiaoyu a very strong character in this game. Also due to the new heat system in Tekken 8 and her buffed combo damage, she is now more than ever able to apply a lot of pressure on her opponents. While her stance-heavy moveset may pose a challenge in the beginning, mastering her proves immensely rewarding in Tekken 8. With precise timing and strategic baiting, she can deal damage very quickly. Furthermore, I would like to add that we've only scratched the surface of Xiaoyu's potential. There are still topics I haven't discussed when it comes to her potential as a character. For example, moves with guaranteed follow-ups and also her amazing counter hit game. So please keep an eye out on this YouTube channel as I will discuss these topics separately. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey and see you in the next one. Bye bye.